So for those waiting for Apple to update the beloved iPad mini, I come bearing some not so great news because it might not be released anytime soon, and so let's delve into it. We were for some time expecting a September release for the new iPad mini 7. Shrimp Apple Pro had suggested this, and it would make sense since the iPad mini 6 had launched at the September 2021 event, and so just as I was getting myself amped about this, the event took place, and there were no new iPads. Now this was a bit of a bummer, I can't lie, but not to worry, at least there'll be new iPads in October, right? Right? Well, no, apparently there will be no new iPads till early next year, according to credible Apple source Min Chi Kuo. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this, it would be appreciated. Now this is very surprising news because, fun fact, ever since the first iPad was released all the way back in 2010, there has always been a new iPad release every single year without fail. Yes, 13 consecutive years of new iPads, and this could be the first year where Apple breaks that pattern. Now, why is Apple neglecting the iPads and not giving them some love? Well, I can think of many reasons, but the main things to note are the fact, right now consumers are not spending as much as they used to. iPad and Mac sales did see a decline last quarter, I believe, but also anything Apple would have released this year anyways would have been a very minor refresh that I'm guessing they thought was not worth releasing because, let's be honest guys, consumers are not going to be rushing to Apple stores to spend hundreds of dollars on a new iPad that's ever so slightly faster. Because coming back to the iPad mini 7, if you're waiting for M2 OLED, 120Hz, just something game-changing, we're not getting any of that. In fact, all we've heard is that we're getting a new SoC, that's it. Now what chip could this be? Well, unfortunately no one has yet to specify, but of course, there is no way this is getting an M-series chip. I know there's techies who want an iPad mini Pro with all the best specs on the planet, and they want the insane Geekbench numbers, but remember, Apple's not building products for techies, they build products for the masses, and most buying the iPad mini are not even maxing out the A15 in the current model, so of course, why give this M1 or M2 when you're not going to be running Final Cut on a bloody 8-inch tablet? So that leaves us with two possible chip upgrades, the A16 or the A17 Pro. Now, of course, I'm hoping it's the A17 Pro because the jump to A16 would be very minor from the A15. But here's the thing, guys. We have heard Apple and TSMC have not been able to produce a ton of these 3nm chips. The yield rate's something like 55%, which is not very good. And you just know Tim's going to prioritize the Pro phones and give them the best of the best, and other products like the iPad mini just get the scraps left over, which in this case is A16. However, considering the new chip is called the A17 Pro, I could see the mini getting a bin version that presumably could just be the regular A17. We did hear that Apple struck a pretty good deal with TSMC where they don't pay for the defective dies on each wafer, and while considering the yield rate is 55%, there are a ton of dies that don't meet the requirement of A17 Pro, so of course they could be used instead as a non-Pro A17 with some disabled CPU and GPU cores. Either way though, even if it's A17 guys, it's a chip upgrade at the end of the day, and that's going to result in apps running 0.0001% faster. So yeah, this is pretty pointless in the long run. Yes, you may care about the slightly longer support the Mini 7 offers, but here's the thing guys, A15 is not losing support anytime soon, and that does bring me to the only reason I'm disappointed the iPad mini 7's not releasing anytime soon, and that's the fact we now have to wait a little longer for the iPad mini 6 to drop down in price. Because as always guys, when a new version of a product that's slightly better specs comes out, the old product that's basically just as good becomes a lot cheaper, and that's great news for cheapskates like myself. I'm gonna be recommending many to go down that route and go find deals on the iPad mini 6 because it's still a fantastic iPad. But at the end of the day guys, it's your money. I'm just a guy on YouTube. If you want the best of the best, then by all means go for the slightly faster iPad mini 7, and if you're wondering about the release date, I could see two things happening based on what Quo told us. We either have another set of press releases in Jan for new iPads including the mini, or we instead see a March event where we see a ton of spec refreshes for iPads and Macs. So yeah, basically sometime in the spring makes sense because we usually see Apple begin the year with the simple spec updates. Since this year, for example, we have the new Macs with the slightly better M2 chips. So yes, iPad mini 7 should release in the first half of next year. So yes, there's that, guys. Brace yourself for a very boring refresh. Maybe we'll get new colors to spice the update up. But of course, that doesn't mean I can't make a wish list of things I would like to see. So yes, let's delve into things I wish we could see with the iPad mini 7. We begin with thinner bezels. While I can definitely live with the bezel size here, it does look a little chunky, I can't lie. It's thick with 4 Cs, so it would be nice if future iPad mini models came with thinner bezels. This also would not just be an aesthetic upgrade because with thinner bezels we could see a bigger display in the same form factor, which is always appreciated. So yes, I'm hoping Apple has plans for this, and we have actually heard about this recently too from Mark Gurman, so yes, fingers crossed we see this. Another display related change I would like to see is fixing the scaling on the Mini, because Apple's literally just miniaturized the iPad Pro UI for the Mini and they have not optimized the content for the smaller screen. Yes, the company that's known for the optimization and the blend of hardware and software somehow shipped a product like this. So for example, guys, on the home screen there is a ton, and I mean a ton, of wasted space, and as a result some widgets and the information they show are frankly too small. Changing the font size does not fix this, and so I've been waiting for Apple to sort this out, but they've still done nothing. Do you not care about us, Timothy, huh? Do you not care about the iPad mini users? Because we are not mini like our iPads. We will come and riot outside Apple's HQ. It's time these iPads get some love when it comes to their software. Now, I don't see my next request ever happening, if I'm honest, but I'm gonna mention it anyways, and that's quad speakers. This really depends on whether you've had experience with an iPad Pro in the past, but as someone who's had one for years, the iPad mini speakers were a bit of a downgrade, I can't lie. Now obviously I was expecting the speakers to be worse either way because guess what, guys? Smaller things produce less sounds. But of course quad speakers does make the sound more full in my opinion, so Apple please, it's about time the mid-range iPads get this. But by far the easiest change Apple could implement is 128 gigs of base storage. Now I could make do with 64 gigs on an iPad, but let's be honest guys, Apple should not be offering this little storage on a brand new iPad. The only model that gets a pass is the iPad 9 because it's sub $300 nowadays, and that's pretty cheap for an iPad. But what's funny is that the bloody Apple Watches they just launched the other day have 64 gigs of storage. And so why does the $500 iPad mini and the $600 iPad Air have the same storage as a computer on your wrist? That's just embarrassing. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments and make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.